My name is Lasse Meholm. I'm working for the Central Bank of Norway, the Norges Bank. I have been here for half a year now, responsible for testing technology when it comes to CBDC. I have been here as a consultant for 1.5 years before, so I've been here close to 2 years now. Before I did this project with CBDC for the Central Bank, I was with DNB, the largest bank in Norway. I was the head of blockchain and distributed ledger technology, responsible for the, for example, responsible for the Marco Polo project, the cross-border and trade finance project based on another DLT technology. I also worked with Ethereum for some time and also worked with another Norwegian bank with blockchain and distributed ledger technology. And before that, I have been starting a number of fintech companies, and I have sold them one by one. So now I'm employed by the Central Bank. I'm going to go through what we have done so far when it comes to CBDC and technology for Norges Bank. And then I will also end by telling something about what will happen in the future, our plan for the future. And I'm still irritated by the presentation mode there. Okay, first of all, Norway is a small country. We are about 6 million people here, up north in Europe. We have 99.7 internet penetration, so more or less everyone in Norway have internet. Approximately 50 of us also have 5G mobile data services. Most of us also have a smartphone, and we are more or less completely cashless, and that's very different from USA or even the rest of Europe. I do not remember last time I used cash in Norway or an ATM. It might be, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I use card, Visa, MasterCard most of the time. Also Apple Pay and Google Pay is quite popular, but most of the Norwegians are using card. We are quite digitally matured in Norway. All public services like applying for kindergarten, applying for health, for hospital, for dentists, file your tax paper and so on. Everything is on the web now and digital. And the reason it is that we have digital identity called Bank ID. It's a company run by all banks that share the cost. So we have a completely digital identity infrastructure here. And we do have a quite good instant payment. I can pay from myself to my wife or my children, account to account in a few seconds. So the payment infrastructure in Norway is quite good. And Norway is not a member of the European Union, but we are a part of the European Economic Area. So we have to follow the rules and the regulation in European, but we are not a part and we cannot vote when it comes to vote within the European Union. So I still try to get this presentation mode work. Sorry for this. When it comes to phases, the project started in 2016. Phase 1, 2, and 3 was analytical work. It was paperwork, analysis of the market, what do other central banks do, and so on. Phase 4, when I come along in December 2021, it started with experimental tests, and I will come back to the experimental test. We ended phase 4 in July this year and started phase 5. Phase 5 will end December 2025. After December 2025, the central bank will give an advice, a recommendation to the government of Norway, and it is the government of Norway that decides whether we should have a CBDC in Norway or not. So in time, I mean, I think it will take 26, 27, 28 or something before we have CBDC in production in Norway, if we're gonna have it at all. So the decision is up to the government, and they will do it after December 2025. When we started the testing last year, we have 17 different characteristics that we have to take in account when we design the testing. For example, it should be a claim on the Norwegian bank. It should be one Norwegian krona should be one Norwegian krona, nothing else. We need something that could be customer oriented, and also we need to prevent bank run. So we don't risk that people take too much money out of their bank deposit into a CBDC wallet. So there was some 17 kind of characteristics we needed to take in account. And the plan with the testing is that we should test absolutely every of these 17. Well, and why do we focus on CBDC in Norway, since the payment infrastructure is extremely well here? First of all, resilience. What happens if the bank digital system fails? We need to do some. We need to have a backup. So that's one very important motivation here. Since we're not using cash, I do not have cash in my wallet. I do not have physical cash at home. And when it comes to resilience, if the banking system, digital system breaks, I need to go to the bank, and the ATM might be free of cash. So we need to think into this situation, the backup situation. Also, we think that CBDC might generate better innovation and better competition on the payment market. We have older people in Norway, not many of them. Well, in percentages, a few, 3, 4, 5%. Older people at nursing home, they are not digital matured. And what can they do when we do not have cash and do not and they're not able to use the digital system that we have today? We're also looking into crypto assets, stablecoin, big tech payment. Is that a threat to the Norwegian krona and the financial stability? If so, we might need a CBDC to cover up for it. We're also looking at the tokenized of everything, this new business model. Should I use a CBDC in Norwegian krona, or is it okay to use a stable coin or big tech coin, or either, for example, tokenized bank deposits? So we're looking into the whole thing, and it's summarized. That basically the motivation for going into CBDC in Norway. So I will go into no, I find it. Sorry, here it is. Sorry. We go into the technology here. Do you still have my screen, Karen?
Yes, it looks great. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. So we choose Hyperledger Besu, and that was a very good choice. We have a proof of authority and a new block every 5 seconds. We tried to use MetaMask as a wallet, but the security department of the bank said you are not allowed to do it because MetaMask record whatever you do on the computer. So you have to do something else. So we had to build a so-called soft wallet. And then on this soft wallet, if you see on the left-hand side, if you log in as a central bank, you can mint and burn Norwegian krona. If you log in, if you're not logging in as a central bank, then you can send and receive Norwegian krona CBDC. Then we decided to use ERC-20 token. It's a standard token, and this is the same as many other central banks also are testing. We use Norwegian krona as the name, the NOK, and we use 4 decimal places. And the reason for 4 decimal places is that we would like to test out Internet of Things and machine-to-machine payment as well. And there is no transaction fee, no gas fee at all. Then we run an RFP. We had a competition. We send out to a lot of Norwegian blockchain-based companies, and we choose a fintech company based in Bergen in Norway. There are 3 people in Norway, a number of people in UK, a few people in Singapore, and so on. So it's a small fintech startup, but they are extremely good when it comes to Ethereum-based blockchain. So they got the task to build this platform for us, or the sandbox. Inside the sandbox, we can issue and mint CDBC. We can send CDBC from Central Bank to a private bank, can receive back from the private bank, and we can redeem and burn CDBC within the sandbox. They also build the soft wallet I showed you on the last screen. And they also build a wallet that the private bank can use, and they also even build a wallet that customer of the private bank can use. So we kind of build end-to-end sandbox for us. Then
Lasse, I just want to ask real quick. We've gotten a couple of questions from the attendees about which kind of CBDC you're talking about in this example. Is it to consumers, retail, or wholesale?
Thank you for the question. That is correct. This is retail CBDC. This is for private person, company, person to company, company to company, and so forth. This is not wholesale. And that was the starting point for us. We've had only focus on retail CBDC in the starting. When it comes to phase 5, which I will come back to in the end of this presentation, we also focus on wholesale. So we're going to focus on both retail and wholesale CBDC in the future. Okay. Then we asked Nami to build a swap for us. So we had the Norwegian krona retail CBDC sandbox in ERC-20 token. We built a new sandbox in ERC-1400 token. And then we made this swap. So if customer 5 in this example would like to transfer, let's say, 100 Norwegian krona from the ERC-20 to ERC-1400, then it's locked on the ERC-20 side and minted on the ERC-1400 side. And on the ERC-1400 side, it might be metaverse or Web3 something. It can circulate on the 1400 side, and if anyone on the 1400 side would have the ERC-20 Norwegian krona back, the money is burned on the 1400 side and unlocked on the 20 side. So we just test out this swapping thing. And for us, this was very, very important, because when we showed rest of the CBDC team this, then the lawyer said, this is a challenge, because is it really a liability on the central bank when we are not control of the ecosystem? What about the law here? And what if something happened on the 1400 side? Is the central bank responsible for something happen outside of the core ecosystem? So this, just testing out this, generate a lot of questions within the central bank here. And we had a number of people that was engaged for months to consider how to solve this. And again, this is good to be dirty on your hands, means that a lot of things comes up.
We had a couple questions come up on that side, Lasse. Does the bridge or the swap happen on the same network?
Sorry?
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
So for the swap, or this bridge here that's happening between the two ecosystems, is that happening on the same network?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Best on both sides.
And could you just explain real quick what is the NOK ecosystem and the NOKS ecosystem?
The NOK is the sandbox that we have, the original sandbox that we developed. The NOKS is, we call this separate. So it's a different ecosystem, different nodes and so on, but it's still inside of the Besu network.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we also tested what we call helicopter money. The central bank doesn't like the name helicopter money, so we call it batch payment. So if someone needs to send out 1 million transactions to 1 million people, then you have to separate, because you get only a few hundred transactions per block. So we needed to test out that as well. So we had a helicopter money functionality also included. And then this is last summer, we decided to put the whole code base on GitHub, and we did. So it's all, everything is all out there, and that's good. I think the sharing and open source is very important for us, and it will be very important for us in the future as well. At least as long as we are in test mode. So why did we choose Hyperledger Besu in the first place? We needed to test those 17 characteristics from the report of 2021. One of the reasons is that we thought it was very easy for us to engage consultants to build the sandbox for us and build user case inside of the sandbox. We thought it was like easy for a private bank to also engage consultant to build on their side. We thought it was easy to have hackathon, because a lot of people know EVM, programmable smart contract, and the Ethereum technology area. So that was very important for us. We needed a technology that was easy and flexible to test. And that was the reason we chose Ethereum, and of course we needed a private chain, so we chose Hyperledger Besu. So for us, this was a very good choice for an effective experimental test. I will come back to that. We will use Hyperledger Besu for the next 2 years as well. So we are very satisfied with the EVM and Hyperledger Besu technology for testing. Whether we will use Besu if the government says that we will deploy CBDC in production, I don't know. But for testing, this is just perfect for us. Then we needed more help, and last summer we had another RFP, and after the summer we chose another fintech company as a small company of 2 persons in Oslo. And we signed with them, and they built a number of use cases within the sandbox. The first use case they built was what we call verified credential. So we had a cooperation with the Digitaliseringsdirektoratet. It's the National Social Security government-owned organization. They have a website that you can log in and look at your personal information. If you have a bank ID, the national digital identity thing. So we have a cooperation with them. So you can request a certificate from them, and then digitally identify yourself. And then we build that oracle on top of what they have. We had to build it for them and give it to them for free in order to do the test. And then we took the certificate, put inside of the wallet of the user. And we also think that in the future the bank should do this, because bank you don't know your customer and money laundering thing. So it's a natural thing for the future that the bank do this. But for now, in the test, everyone can request this certificate, and then we reprogram the token, or we reprogram the smart contract within the token. So if both the sender and the receiver, the payer and the payee, have certificate in order, then the transaction go through. If one of them do not have this, the transaction do not go through. And it is the money that does this testing, not the bank or the client or the customer. It's the money, because it changed the programming code of this ERC-20 token. And this is a little bit into the AML, anti-money laundering, and also CTF. So this is a little bit into what's next. So for us, this was very important, both testing out and do a testing and a programming together with another government-owned body, like the Social Security Registry, and then Central Bank. So this was a very good test, and we did this in 2 months or so. Then the central bank said, we might not have interest calculation on CBDC. Most central bank doesn't. But the central bank management said to us, we would like you to test so we know it's possible if it's possible. So we spent quite a lot of time to figure out, should we have a new token called interest? And then you do every day or week or month or every year something, a calculation, and you get this new token. But we ended up with the DFI AVE model. So they calculate interest on the holding every 1 second or by 1 second. So if there's, for example, 2 hours since last time you did a transaction, when you have a new transaction, the interest is calculated based on every second those 2 hours times the balance of your balance during those 2 hours. So this is 100% correct calculation. So we just used the AVE model, and it was open source, so you could download and do the changes that we need, and then include it in the test. So the interest calculation was very good for us, and I thought it should be consume a lot of processing power, but it slowed down the transaction by 128 milliseconds. So I mean, not a blink, even though to do the calculation. And again, we could do this because we have programmable money, and by programmable money, I mean the smart contract was changed within the money. Then we needed to do something when it comes to money laundering and to counter terror finance. So we also added a trace and monitor system outside of actually within the blockchain, but the calculation outside. And then we introduced a mechanism we called it decentralized Oracle network, so that if there's a red flag somewhere, then both the sender, the payer, and a compliance officer need to sign the contract before it goes through to the receiver. So we tried to test out, is it possible to stop the transaction before the receiver get it? And also we tested out if it is it possible to size funds that we know, and the court order says that this is illegal money. Is it possible to size it? And we tested that as well. So it was quite a good use case for us. And again, we used programmable money because this you have to put in the smart contract inside of the ERC-20 token. We also tested anonymous payment, of course. Privacy is very important for us. We started to test zero knowledge proof because everyone says that's the way to do it. We got some problem because we have this change in the smart contract within the ERC-20 token. And if you use zero knowledge proof, you can destroy something of the functionality within the parameter within the ERC-20 token. So we ended up using something called stealth addresses, and that works just fine. And we tested that everything is anonym, or everything under a certain threshold. For example, everything less than 500 Norwegian kroner, which is about $50 US. Everything under that is anonym. Everything over that is traceable. So we tested the anonymity. Also, if you have transaction under this $50, but you can only send, for example, 3 or 5 transactions per day or something. So we tested a number of variations of anonymous payment. We also tested the cap. For example, you cannot hold more than $10,000 US in your wallet, and everything above that threshold or that cap will be transferred to your bank account automatically. We also spent some time on Hamilton Code, the Boston Fed and MIT project. We had a student working 40% for us for almost a year, downloaded the code and we tested it. We also tested and had workshop with a number of off-shelf products. There's a number of them out there, and we tested and had workshop with a few of them. And the strategy here is that what will happen if the government say that we need to deploy CBDC in production. It's very unlikely, but it's possible that the central bank will build the technology. We don't have resources for it now, but that's a possibility. Very, very unlikely. It's more likely that we buy something from someone, and off the shelf it might be something. Or we can cooperate, with, for example, with the European Central Bank or the Bank of England or Canada or someone else. To look into the strategy, we also needed to test a number of off-the-shelf technologies as well. Then we would like to, or we tested Internet of Things. And here you have two houses. One house has a solar panel on the roof, the other one doesn't. So they sell electricity to each other and paying once a second. So it's a very small payment in amount, but with large number. And to do so, we used IOTA. It's a completely different type of technology. It's very like the Hedra hash graph kind of thing. So it works. First, we need to build a bridge between ERC-20 and IOTA, which is a UTXO-based token. And then we tested the IOTA, Internet of Things, and machine-to-machine payment infrastructure. We also spent quite a lot of time before summer or last year to be open and tell everyone that asked for it, what is it that you do, and how long have you been working with the CBDC. And so we had a hackathon with the University in Bergen in Norway. We had a hackathon with the Norwegian Digitalization Agency. They are also responsible for the social security number. We also had a workshop and hackathon together with the University of Oslo, and we had a hackathon also with FinTech Norway, organization organizing the FinTech community in Norway. So we spent quite a lot of time, I don't know, in calendar, one person, 2 months or something over the last year, in order just to be open and have speeches, keynote speeches, and do blockchain, hackathons, and so on. Then last summer, we was asked if we would like to be part of a cross-border retail CBDC test, and we said yes. So we started a project together with the Central Bank of Israel. This was long before the last month problem over there, and we also had a deal with the Central Bank of Sweden. And then this Innovation Hub, they have an office in Stockholm. They was the project manager. So it was three central bank. It was us, it was Central Bank of Sweden, and Central Bank of Israel. I will dive into this a little bit deeper now, but we needed some more hands to build this for us. So we had another RFP August last year, and we chose another Norwegian FinTech company called Norwegian Block Exchange, NBX. They are also a crypto exchange in Norway. They are very good at blockchain development. So we signed with them, and now I will spend 2 minutes in this cross-border retail CBDC project. We called it Icebreaker. The report is out there, so if you would like to go in more in detail, the report is there, and there's a video out there as well. So this is an example of cross-border payment with central bank digital currency, CBDC, retail, and that is important. We have two persons here. We have first Emma. She lives in Norway. She uses Norwegian krona, and she have a ballot with the CBDC in Norway. Then we have Benny. He lives in Israel. In Israel, they will use shekel. He has a shekel CBDC ballot in Israel. And then Emma buys services from Benny via the internet. Every month, Benny sends an invoice to Emma saying that this is my wallet address and I need 1,000 shekel. Please pay so. Then we build a hub, and this hub has a connection with hundreds of banks, and each of those banks send cross-border currency rate to the hub. So when Emma asks, please give me the bank that has the best currency rate with Norwegian krone and Israeli shekel, then the hub answer Emma, this is the one. And for example, it might be JP Morgan. We call JP Morgan in this case a foreign exchange provider. So Emma answered, yes, I choose JP Morgan and I choose this currency rate. JP Morgan has a wallet both in Norwegian krone and Israeli shekel and can actually do the transaction. They also do the cross-border and the currency risk here. The way we do it technically is that money is not paid from Emma to JP Morgan and from JP Morgan to Benny, but we lock it. So the money is locked from Emma to JP Morgan, FXP2, and then JP Morgan log the shekel amount from the Norwegian krone to Benny. Then Benny shared the secret, hashed secret with Emma. Emma looked up the transaction, and in an atomic or close to atomic, it's not a completely atomic, but close to atomic transaction, then the money from Emma to the JP Morgan is locked up, and at the same time, money from JP Morgan to Benny is locked up. So we call it atomic PVP, or close to atomic PVP, and we use something called hash-time locked contracts. And it works fine. So Emma to Benny takes less than 2 seconds average when we tested it. And we also tested what happened if no one has Norwegian krone to shekel, but someone has Norwegian krone to Swedish krone, and then Swedish krone to shekel. So it was PVP, VP, PVP, VP. And we tested that as well, and it worked just fine. Now I'm going to go into what we are going to do in phase 5, the next 2 years from now. First of all, this summer, the Central Bank issued something called Strategy 25. It's on the web. So if you go on to Norges Bank on the web, you can see this Strategy 25. On page, I think it's page 10 or something, it says that Norges Bank will prepare the ground for the issue, if appropriate, a central bank digital currency, CBDC. And it says also that we need to test candidates' solutions. So that's basically what we need to do now. We have to prepare for it. Not sure if we're going to use it or not, but we need to prepare for it if the government is going to say yes after 2025. And we need to test technology in order to be prepared for what to choose if the government go for it. So that's kind of the target for what we're going to do over the next 2 years. What we did in phase 4 was that we had a legal leg. So the legal thing, the change in law, the change in regulation, and so on was one leg. Then we had a leg for financial stability. How should we make sure that the bank doesn't go bank, that we do not make a trouble for bank? We need bank in the future as well. The financial stability, money supply, and so on was one leg. Then we had the experimental test, which I was responsible for. And then we spent quite a lot of when it comes to external communication with politics, with academia, hackathons, and so on. So that was the way we was organized in phase 4, where we have written most report. The legal report came out. It's a staff memo. It came out 2 months ago, and next week or within a few weeks we'll have a report when it comes to stability, financial stability. What we did in experimental test, it will be both in Norwegian and English, so you might read it. And we have a kind of what we did do in phase 4 in all of those 3. It's a total report. We have also our internet site. So if you Google Norges Bank and CBDC, then it is a quite good. I really think it's quite good internet site or website. We launched it a few months ago. In phase 5, we will do it a little bit different. Peder is another director of the Central Bank. He's responsible for analysis and also devise the report that we are going to send to the government. Then Morten is more focusing on how should this look like, end-to-end consideration. Why do we need a CBDC? Who should use it? And also into the legal thing when it comes to CBDC. And I'm responsible for testing on technology. So we do it a little bit different in phase 5 than we did it up to now. My part of the organization, we have a central bank top. The governor of the central bank have given the mandate to the project. They have a steering committee with top management of the central bank. Then we have project manager Knut Sandal and the project manager when it comes to test, experimental test ET. And I have 2 developers. They are quite new. Employed by the central bank. They are very experienced software and blockchain developers. We have an IT architect, 100% focused on CBDC. We have a lawyer, Christina. She's 100% focused on CBDC. And we also have consultants. I will come back to consultants in a few slides from now. Then what are we going to do when it comes to Sandbox in phase 5? We will keep the Hyperledger Besu retail CBDC Sandbox as it is now. We will do a number of changes there. We will introduce role. For example, Norwegian Central Bank can mint and burn. Private bank can not mint and burn, but they can online and onboard new customer, generate addresses and password and so on. And then we will keep the self-custodial thing, P2P payment, within customer or banks. Then, as the top management said, you need to focus on wholesale as well. And we will use Hyperledger Fabric to build a wholesale CBDC sandbox. We know that we can use Hyperledger Besu to both, and we know we can use Hyperledger Fabric for both. But we would like to test both of them because those technologies are so different from each other. So in order to learn and mature the organization, we have chosen to have retail in Besu and wholesale in Fabric. But then we of course need to combine them. For example, testing out, should we test out what happened with a wholesale in Fabric, and then if a bank, for example, use retail Besu tokenized deposit in Besu. So we plan to use Cacti for this. We also will look into other bridges because we do not think that the future is one technology. We think that the future will be more than one ledger, and we need to bridge them one way or another. We need to focus on stablecoin. We need to focus on tokenized bank deposit, Internet of Things, machine-to-machine payment, open banking. Offline payment is very important for us. Digital inclusion is very important. We have all this, for example, all people that do not have a mobile phone or a computer. They need to be able to pay also in the future, at least as long as they do not can use cash anymore. We have a number of restaurants, a number of bars, a number of shops in Norway that do not accept cash anymore. And the same if you go on a train or a bus, the bus doesn't accept cash anymore. So we need some way they can pay, not having a mobile phone and a computer. So it might be a hardware thing. And we have started to look into Hyperledger Firefly. So we use Hyperledger 100% now. We are so focused on Hyperledger in the future. We have a number of things that we would like to test, both from phase 4, we didn't manage to do so because of the timing, and we have a number of new use cases for phase 5, but we also have had a meeting with all banks in Norway, and we have a meeting with the tax authority, with the social security authority, with the authority that pay out unemployment money and pension and so on. And we ask them, is there anything out there that is a problem? and is there anything out there that might be solved by CBDC? So we are open for them to kind of give us something to test and use cases as well. And we are completely open for them. We will definitely spend time on whatever they ask us to test. And of course, we are part of the Hyperledger Foundation, or at least associated member of Hyperledger Foundation. We are very glad to do so. And we run a RFP this summer. The timing for providing the proposal was middle of August this year. And we chose NAMI, then the one that built the original sandbox for us, as one of them, and Define is a German company of 1,500 employees or something. They will do all the external work for us when it comes to testing in the future. So I'm sorry if someone out there is consultant. We are not open for consultancy. We're gonna use those two for the next 2 years. So we are looking forward to a good collaboration with the private and public organization in Norway. And the purpose is still to learn, experience, and mature our skills, thought, and our strategy towards the end of 2025. So we prepare the ground for the ACU, if appropriate, or central bank digital currency in the future. So I spent almost 45 minutes now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lasse. That was a really helpful overview of all the various experiments that you've done. You've been really diligent in testing out many different use cases in different ways, which I think I'm sure is really informative for the goals that you have for CBDC. And I think a lot of people are interested in understanding more about that. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat or in the Q&A box, or raise your hand. I did actually have someone who during the talk raised their hand. So Julian, I'm going to ask you to come off of mute and feel free to ask your question.
Hi, Lasse. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. My name is Julien. I work for the Swiss Digital Exchange, where we also work on similar kind of projects. I was wondering who would maintain and run the nodes of your Hyperledger Besu network in a productive environment? Would it be only controlled by the Central Bank of Norway, or would you also onboard commercial banks to run the nodes?
Well, I think we're gonna include the commercial bank as well. When it comes to, yeah, I've been thinking about this, especially since this tokenized bank deposit to come along. And if one bank use one technology, another one use another technology, then we have a problem. So it might be better that the central bank run the ledger and responsible for the ledger underneath. It is also a question whether the central bank has competences to do so and who would like to do so. So it's a balance here. But for the testing, we also include commercial bank in the testing and on our Besu ledger, and we also let them deploy their own smart contract.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian, for the question. Fadil, I'll allow you to come off of mute if you'd like to ask a question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you, Lights, for the presentation. So first of all, like I'm a student, I'm pursuing a degree in IT. So under there's this project which I was working on about the renewable energy in the field of blockchain, basically in the blockchain. And so since so in our country, there is the company that's supplying energy, like it's prone to errors and prone to some of this. It has more disadvantages than advantages. So we are planning to come up with a startup whereby we're leveraging blockchain and the use of regenerative energy. So where you have said about IoT and using IoT and token IoT and think of selling like tokens, like I'm more intrigued about that. Could you kindly elaborate more if possible?
Yeah, well, when we had this workshop with one of the university in Oslo, they were really focused on energy, as you asked for, and if we consume a lot of energy because of the blockchain. First of all, Norway has 100% clean energy. We have waterfall coming from the mountain, so it's a hydro energy. So they're absolutely 100% green energy. And the way we do it, since it's a private chain, we run the nodes, at least in the test. In the future, it might be that each bank run their own nodes. But it doesn't consume that much energy the way we do it. And we use the consensus mechanism is not proof of work, it's proof of authority. It's a completely different mechanism. So we don't see that this gonna consume much more energy than the bank do today. At least Nordea, one of the banks that I work for, had 45,000 servers. And they consumes a lot of energy, much more than we do with the blockchain. So compared to what we have today, I'm not sure if the energy consumption is quite high. And that goes also for Internet of Things. I mean, Internet of Things is you need a very small processor within, for example, your surveillance camera. It doesn't consume that much energy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the question. We had Hector Gonzalez who asked about elaborated on privacy. So you did mention something about, I think, shielded addresses. So he's saying, could you elaborate on the privacy in the wallets? Is it end-to-end encrypted? Is the wallet shield? Does it mean the central bank could see the transaction?
Well, it is very important that the central bank cannot see the transaction in the future. In phase 4, we could. We use block scout, so everyone could see everything. We do not do that same thing in phase 5. So in the future, when it comes to privacy, it's very important that the central bank cannot see everything. The bank can see the transaction of the customer and the transaction of the bank, but one bank cannot see transaction of one other bank. That is very important. And one bank cannot see transaction of customer of another bank. So it's more or less similar today. And that is what we tested out. So we can shield, or we can make anonymous transaction within this area. So for phase 5, anonymous transaction and privacy being compliant with the new European regulation GDPR is very important for us, and we're going to test it quite a lot in phase 5.
Privacy is definitely a question that we're getting a lot about, and a lot of people are trying to figure out how to do that, especially with the CBDCs. Dino Delaccio has a question, so please feel free to ask and come off of mute.
Thank you very much for the great presentation. My name is Dino Delaccio. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund in New York. I also have used the Hyperledger, not specifically the Besu, but the Indy for digital identity and proof of existence. My background is in auditing assurance, and one of the issues that I've been grappling with the solution that I personally developed is how to provide assurance and reliability on the blockchain-based solution, given the relative innovation that they introduce and the fact that they are not yet generally accepted standard for auditing and assurance. Have you considered, have you benchmarked, if I may use this term, your solution against any type of security standard, operational standard, best practices, anything that would be relevant to support the credibility in the solution? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. What we did in phase 4 is that we didn't focus on security. We didn't focus on cybersecurity. We didn't even focus on scalability. We just wanted to test a number of test use cases. But as you said, this is very important. We had the IT architect engaged 100% in the CBDC project for phase 5. He was in Basel last week. This Innovation Hub had a special workshop for looking at security and looking at cyber security, looking at for blockchain and DLT. So it's a big issue, and it's very important. But for up to now, we haven't focused on at all. So I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer to you, but we will. So if you contact me in a year or so, I can give you a much better answer.
Thank you. We're on the same boat. Thank you so much.
We'll certainly invite you back. Thank you, Dino, for the question. We'll certainly invite you back to do an update, Lasse, after phase 5. So then you can talk more about that then. We just have a couple of minutes left. I'll invite Mustafa to come off of mute and ask maybe one of our last questions.
Hello, this is Mustafa from Stockholm. Actually, it's a couple of questions. First, how about cross-chain interoperability? If you have plans to expose any standard integration facility, I still prefer Ethereum or Polkadot for one reason or another, and I want to still work there. Second thing, you talk about evaluating different solutions. I thought you already chose Hyperledger Besu as the main network. What did you mean by evaluating different solutions? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We have more or less not decided, but when we discuss the future, we are kind of aligned that the future is not one technology or one ledger. These innovation hubs have something called unified ledger, which is the same technology but different ledger in same technology. We don't think that's the future. We think the future might be Besu for something because Besu is open. It's much easier for external to build new services on top of it. The more open, the better it is for innovation. But also it generates some challenges. We need to control the thing. And then we think maybe Fabric might be something for the wholesale that we test now. Maybe for when it comes to Internet of Things, machine-to-machine payment, maybe IOTA is the thing, or Hydra Hashgraph or something else. So we think the future is more than one ledger and one technology. And in order to cope with that, we need to focus on the bridges and interoperability between those technologies. So we're going to spend quite a lot of time when it comes to this interoperability and bridges in phase 5.
Thank you. And
Thank you, Ms.
about the second question, you already fixed on using Besu, right? You're evaluating different options. Still, all of this is going to be based on Besu.
Yeah, we're going to use both Besu and Fabric for either retail and wholesale. So that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. I'm going to squeeze in a couple of very quick questions. One, are you looking into exploring offline payments in future tests?
Sorry, if we are looking into
exploring offline payments. Anything offline.
That is right. We have to do so because we have a number of a few 100,000 older people that need to be able to pay if they cannot pay with cash anymore.
Okay. And then what's the time frame for phase 5?
Well, it will end in December 2025. Then we will give the report and the recommendation for the government.
Okay, great. So I am going to just share a couple of pieces of information. Sorry, the wrong screen. Thank you, Lasse, so much for for this presentation. We had a lot of time for discussion, which was amazing. We don't usually get this much time for questions, so I'm really glad that we were able to do that. And then I'm just going to quickly see if I can share my screen and do a couple final announcements here. Do you see? I feel like I'm not pulling up the right slides. Hold on. There we go. So thank you so much, Lasse, for this presentation. I think there's a lot more that people want to know about, so we'll certainly have you back. For anyone still interested in learning more about Hyperledger Besu or CBDCs or tokenization, we do have a couple of other events coming up that are virtual that you can attend. So this one on Besu and the tokenization of real world assets. Then we also have another one on the stack for digital assets and asset tokenization from Kaleido, and the previous one from one of our other members, IO Builders. You can find out about all these events on our events page of our website at hyperledger.org. Use the QR code there to go straight to that page. We also have a Hyperledger in Action for CBDC's ebook. So this is a document that we have published, and it summarizes all the examples globally of Hyperledger technologies, whether it be Fabric, Besu, Cacti, Firefly, that are being used in the various sandboxes, research pilots, and even live implementations for CBDCs. So it's a really useful resource. I encourage you to take a look at it. I also encourage everybody here to join our Discord if you want to engage with our open source community, learn more about our projects, or ask questions when you're looking to use our technologies and run into any issues as well. Finally, as Lasse mentioned earlier, Bank of Norway is a member of Hyperledger Foundation, as are some of the companies that are implementing CBDCs all around the world. If you are interested in joining Hyperledger Foundation as a corporate member, please reach out to us. I'm happy to speak with you and share more information about that. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for watching. You will find this link on the events page on our website, under our webinars, and also on our YouTube. So there's many ways to find it. We'll share the link in the slides with you as well. Thank you so much for your engagement and all your questions. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.